I took the night job at Hollister Yard because the train stopped coming and the checks still cleared. The company called it asset security. I called it walking fences and keeping a flashlight alive. The tracks ran behind the warehouses like old veins. No one bled here anymore, they said. The first week, I learned the rails still carried a pulse. My first shift, a horn blew once from the far end, low and tired. The schedule board was blank. The switch lanterns were dark. I told myself sound carries strange across metal. Then the ground gave a soft thud, like something heavy had settled into place a mile away. Hollister Yard sat outside town behind a chain-link fence with curls of razor wire. 5 parallel tracks, a knuckle-boom crane that no one fixed, a brick office with windows boarded from the inside. The yard office smelled like coffee that had burned into the pot and papers that never left their folders. The logbook kept by the last guard had neat entries. Gate checks at the top of the hour. Boiler room door locked. East fence repaired. A different hand had written a single line on the back cover. Listen for the cut. The note did not explain more. I liked instructions that did not try to convince you. Locals told stories about the midnight freight that never arrived. A runaway, a misread signal, an engineer who saw something on the tracks and would not say what. People said a car got sealed wrong and no one opened it in time. After the yard closed, kids came in to spray paint boxcars and talk big. They stopped after one winter. No one told me why. On the third night, a cold front fell across the valley. The rails clicked as they shrank. A sound ran down the line, light and fast, like a chain falling from stake to stake. I walked the middle track and counted ties. Every 9th tie held a small mark, a shallow groove, where a wheel flange had pressed harder than it should. The switch stand at track 3 leaned. The target plate still had red and green paint under rust. When I touched the throw, the lever felt warm despite the air. I stepped back and looked at my hand like it would explain anything. It did not. Somewhere past the warehouses, a coupler clanked once, the sharp bite of iron on iron. Then quiet. I started a private log on index cards. Time, direction of the wind, any sound. At 1:12, a caboose marker lamp flashed in the distance and went dark. No one ran cabooses here anymore. At 1:19, gravel shifted behind me without feet. At 1:31, a faint whistle came from the derelict roundhouse. One soft note held too long. I wrote it down and kept moving. The fence line on the east side met a drainage ditch full of reeds. The ditch gurgled even when dry. A footpath cut through weeds to an old service road that led to 3 parked hoppers with their doors wired shut. A padlock hung from the wire. The lock looked polished, like someone touched it often. I checked the seal numbers against a list the company gave me. The numbers did not match any list. Someone had written them in pencil over another set that had been erased. At 3 o'clock, the air got still. I heard a train that was not there, wheels on jointed rail, axles thumping rhythm at regular gaps. The sound passed me from west to east. I felt the pressure bow my pant legs as it went by. Nothing moved in front of my light. The railheads shone for a second as if brushed clean, then dulled again. The horn blew from the east. One long, one short, one long. The pattern for a grade crossing, but there was no crossing here. The crane hook swayed, knocking the steel housing with a gentle tap. A radio in the office woke by itself and hissed on a dead channel. A voice spoke far away. All cuts secure, all doors pinned, proceed to yard limit. The voice had the calm tone of someone who had done a job too long. I stood near the hoppers with the polished lock and listened. Something moved inside the nearest car. Not an animal. The sound had weight and cadence, like cargo that did not settle. The wire around the doors tightened by a hair and then relaxed. A smell drifted from the seam. Not rot, something cold, like the air of a freezer when you open it and it rolls out over your hands. The radio hissed again, and this time the voice asked for confirmation. Yard 6, report the cut. It used my call sign, though I had never used one here. I did not answer. I watched the lock. The shackle rotated as if someone inside had turned it slowly to see if the number would face them. A hinge clicked in the latch, then held. The padlock made a small, weathered sigh. A second sound joined, wheels compressing gravel, not on the rails, on the ground beside them, footsteps that pretended to be wheels. They circled the hoppers and stopped behind me. I raised my light and caught the edge of a metal ladder on the car and a reflection on something smooth in the dark. Not eyes, shiny paint under grime, the side of a car number that did not match my list. The voice on the radio said the line you do not say when machines fail. Stand clear. The door seals creaked. The wire bowed out and cut into the wood like a cheese string. I put my hand on the wire to hold it, and the cold bit into my palm hard enough to ache up to my elbow. The radio said my name. Not a call sign. My name. The horn blew again, closer now. The sound stepped right through me like the wind off a long train. I walked to the office and found a stack of old switch lists in a drawer. Carbon paper imprinted dates and car numbers from years when the yard still ran night crews. On the bottom sheet, a fresh imprint pressed through. Same hand, same neat block letters, cut 413, 2 hoppers, hold till 313. The clock above the door read 312. The radio ticked once like a cooling engine. Out in the yard, the sound of wheels rolled past again, east to west this time, steadier, content. The rails held a faint glow that moved with the sound and then sank. I checked the hoppers. The lock no longer looked polished. Grease had smeared across the numbers like a thumb dragged it. The wire had pulled tight and twisted in a direction that left no grip for pliers. At first light, the town woke on its own schedule. Trucks on the road, birds that like gravel. A man in a reflective vest drove by on the service lane and waved without stopping. I wrote my report for the company with a calm tone I did not feel. Perimeter secure, no trespassers. Minor movement at crane in wind. Lock on east hoppers intact. Nothing that could ask questions. If you guard a dead rail yard at night, learn which sounds belong to metal and which belong to memory. Do not call back when the radio uses your name. Do not touch wire that tightens by itself. If a car asks to open, check the time and count 1 more minute. Some cuts ride through places after the schedule ends. They take what answers them. I still walk the fence. I still keep my light alive. The rails behind Hollister Yard look dull by day and bright by night when nothing moves. At 3:13, I stand clear and listen. The horn blows once, and the ground gives that soft thud like something settling. I write it down and keep my hands off the wire. Subscribe for more original horror stories.